Okay, so you asked a really good question, which is about why we see so many of these chosen one or like hero type narratives in the first place. Like, why is it that so frequently in these fantasy or sci-fi series there is like a version of the world that needs saving to this extent? Like, why is this so pervasive in literature and in film?
I think there are two things. And the first thing is that stories, movies are dramatic portrayals of real life. And so the world ending is so dramatic that it makes anything and everything exciting because, like, you need some kind of conflict, you need some kind of problem to solve. And that's the biggest problem. And so that adds to the urgency of the entire story. But the second thing I think is that it actually is like to do with real life. Like we do see parts of the world not going very well. Like the fact that the ozone layer was depleting, now it's healing.
Apparently, allegedly. I just found out today. Cheryl told me.
Okay, it was a Vox video. I'll put it in the link. Put a link in
it's
the
not to say the climate change is over.
No, like the world is still
has been solved.
The world is still heating up, but at the same time, we see all of these different things that are indicators of the world going downhill, like things are happening. So I think that's why we are so fascinated with the world ending, and we're using stories to tell people, like, okay, like it's important when the world is ending, how can we solve it? And not necessarily that Harry Potter will come in and save our current world. Not that that's like the real solution, but I think there's a fascination with that just because it's so pervasive in our everyday lives.
Yeah. Did you say there was two reasons?
Yeah, those are the two reasons. The first one is because it's dramatic, and the second one is because it's like real.
We just like watching drama play out on screen.
Well, what do you think? Do you think it's just because we have kind of like an underlying subconscious view that the world's going to end no matter what? Or
yeah.
You do? Wow.
I think that's part of it. I think it's like, it's just satisfying to see resolution. And this is not just particular to sci-fi. This is with like rom-coms as well. We like to see like full circle moments. We like to see a couple like get to know each other and then like initially probably hate each other and then slowly fall in love, and by the end they like get together, and that's a full circle moment, and it's a resolution, and it's not a satisfying ending if they don't get together. Like we probably talked about 500 Days of Summer before, but that really like does not fulfill what your expectations are for a rom-com. And so I think some people like it for that reason, but also probably a lot of people are like, no, this is not what I went in for. Like it's the same thing with sci-fi or with fantasy. Like when there is the end of the world is imminent or something like that, like we want to see people working together. We want to see like a fight happen, and then we want to see that problem be solved. Like it's just very satisfying, and I think that's because we don't have a ton of control over the world around us. We can't solve large scale problems like that, and not everything is just like easily solved in the same way. And so when we can see that happening to other characters or like on a screen, I think it's just very satisfying because we can't fulfill that in our own lives.
I think that's a very realistic view of why these stories exist. And yeah, I'm sure there's a part of me that also thinks that I feel a bit helpless about the world warming up, about climate change, about global warming. And as much as I'm like doing my best trying to, like eat more plant-based and recycle all of that and just use less single-use plastic, it just doesn't feel enough. And so to watch a story that you do see a resolution, you do see the world being saved and that the world improves is very satisfying because you feel helpless, but in that moment of watching a movie, you feel like there's hope.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's it. I wonder if sci-fi is about hope. Really.
Oh, I like that. It like presents us with the world as we want to see it and as we hope like we can achieve someday.
Well,
It's pretty sentimental.
it is
Like sci-fi doesn't seem like a
sentimental.
super sentimental genre, but that's really like
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, Ex Machina did not end up being hopeful.
yeah, not all of them do.
Yeah. But The Martian was definitely very hopeful. Like, he survives and escapes.
Spoiler. It's so hard talking about these sci-fi movies and not like giving away what happens at the end.
But, like, what
Like
do
we
you
usually
expect?
struggle with this, but
You
yeah.
definitely expect the world collapsing and then the world being saved. Like, that is the story structure that you expect. And so me saying like, "Oh, he survives," yeah, is fine, because I don't think anyone watching that film would have thought that it was going to be a tragedy, unless I'm trying to remember how I felt about the film while watching the film. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like space movies where they don't end up solving the problem and like everybody on Earth dies or like the spaceship crashes or something. Like I can't think of any, and that might be because they don't exist.
So the reason why we watch sci-fi is because A, we might feel a little bit helpless, and B, we think that having a moment where you feel hopeful perhaps is enough for us to carry on and try and change our situation and not be as helpless. Like, just try and like continue to move forward and change the world, even if it's like in incremental tiny steps. I think that's really great.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, there's like Star Wars and Star Trek, and there's, I guess that's hopeful too, right? Like when they're going, like Star Trek is, I think, I'm not very certain about this, but they're like exploring and trying to see all of the different planets and parts of the galaxy, perhaps. And they're adventurers. Like they're trying
space
to
exploration.
explore. And in that sense, it's kind of like hopeful as well, because you're trying to see, and it's optimistic in a way. And I think that's
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah, because they find, you know, like Star Trek is about like it's not just humans, like there's all of these other kinds of creatures, and so in that sense like it is optimistic that there is other intelligent life out there somewhat close by that we will one day encounter.
Do you think that there are out there?
I think there must be.
Oh.
I read a lot about this when I was researching for this episode. I think there must be intelligent life out there somewhere. I don't know how far, and I don't know if we will ever encounter them. But the universe is so vast. I know that there is like something called the Goldilocks zone, which is like basically that it is very unlikely for life to exist unless it's in very particular circumstances, like how far we are from the sun, and also the fact that there is water, because we think that you need water in order for like life to evolve. So it's very, very unlikely for life to exist because of all these reasons, but because the universe is so vast, I think somewhere else it must be possible.
Yeah, because space never ends. Galaxies just
The
continues.
universe is expanding. I also just read, I bring this up so many times, but I also just read a book where like it's about looking for other alien life. So it just makes me hopeful that there is.